Good evening. This is Brandon Lopez, Parks Manager with the City of Oxnard, presenting 3 service agreements with GreenCoast Landscapes for landscape maintenance services for citywide street and median landscapes to Public Works and Transportation Committee for April 8, 2025. Recommendation that the Public Works and Transportation Committee recommend that the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute the following agreements with GreenCoast Landscapes for an initial term of 3 years each from July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2028, with an option for 2 consecutive 1-year period extensions ending June 30th, 2030, landscape maintenance services in citywide street and median landscapes. The first agreement for a total amount not to exceed $3,819,000. The second agreement for a total amount not to exceed $4,294,000. And the third agreement for a total amount not to exceed $3,527,000. Background. Prior to the passing of Measure E for fiscal year 2019 through 2020, there was a reduction in staffing as a result of budget constraints. This included the elimination of 15 full-time grounds worker 1 and 2 positions from the Public Works Department. After the passing of Measure E in November of 2020, staff created a plan for restoring the maintenance of citywide streets, landscapes, and parks through contract services. The intent of using contract services was to have the routine maintenance tasks conducted by a contractor. This allowed the remaining maintenance staff the flexibility to be assigned reactive and proactive tasks, such as repairs that are outside of routine contract maintenance, as well as street landscape improvements, renovating landscapes, and repairing and modernizing the irrigation systems. To provide equal levels of service, the city was divided into 3 contract areas, consisting of an approximately equal amount of landscaping and solicited bids for each contract area. In addition to providing equal levels of service, having 3 contract areas also provides flexibility to solicit a new contractor for one of the agreements in the event of the contractor underperforming in that region, without disrupting services in the other contract areas of the city. On June 29th, 2021, the City Council approved 2 agreements to Garcia's Landscapes as the lowest responsive bidder for Regions 1 and 3, and an agreement with Mariposa Landscapes as the lowest responsive bidder for Region 2. The original not to exceed amount for all 3 agreements was $6,025,000 for the 3-year terms ending June 30th, 2024. Each of the agreements was amended by the City Council in 2022 to increase the levels of service to twice per month, and then in 2024 extend each term for an additional year. The 3 street and median landscape maintenance agreements will expire on June 30th, 2025. The not to exceed amount for all 3 agreements during the 4-year terms is $9,967,000, with an estimated final expense of $9,624,276 for the services performed. The final monthly rates for services in each region. Region 1, $69,310. Region 2, $71,808. And Region 3, $74,935 for a total monthly expense of $216,053. Discussion. On December 4th, 2024, the city released a request for bid, RFB number 2561, for landscape maintenance services within the city's street and median landscapes. Outreach efforts include direct notification to 5 vendors, publications on publicpurchase.com, and posting on the city's purchasing website. The city solicited a bid for each of the 3 regions. The 3 agreements provide weekly services for arterial street landscape maintenance that includes some turf management, shrub and ground cover pruning, hardscape maintenance, litter and debris removal, weed control, minor tree care, and additional services. The additional services for all 3 agreements provide additional contract capacity and flexibility for on-call landscape maintenance and debris removal services that are outside of the scheduled routine maintenance services. These additional services will only be performed with the approved task order from staff and verification of the approved contract costs and available funds. The city currently uses multiple agreements with different vendors to complete on-call landscape services. As these agreements expire, consolidating these services into newly awarded landscape agreements will increase efficiency along with eliminating the time required to solicit these on-call services. The additional services are budgeted at 50% of each fiscal year. However, there is no guarantee to the contractor that these services will be requested or performed. Payment for these services will only be paid after a task order is issued and requested service has been verified by staff as completed. On December 11th, 2024, the city held a mandatory job walk with the potential bidders. This allowed staff to clarify any questions from the contractors and go over the expectations of the scope of services that provided weekly maintenance services throughout the street landscapes. 7 contractors attended the job walk. The deadline for proposal submission was January 7th, 2025, and the city received a total of 6 proposals. GreenCoast Landscape provided the lowest responsible bid for each of the 3 contract areas. The monthly bid amounts for each contractor to provide services in all 3 regions of the street and median landscape maintenance are as follows. GreenCoast Landscape's monthly bid $121,790. On January 16, 2025, staff met with GreenCoast to ensure they were prepared and capable of meeting the requirements as stated in the contract documents. Staff has confirmed that GreenCoast Landscapes meets all the required city contractual provisions, including possession of a city business tax certificate, insurance certificates, and a corporate filing with the California Secretary of State. Additionally, GreenCoast currently has an agreement with the city that provides landscape services for water, wastewater, and environmental resources divisions, as well as the transportation center. Since July 1st, 2024, GreenCoast has performed these services in accordance with the agreement. Based upon the available information and research performed to date, staff believes that this vendor is capable of satisfactorily meeting the needs of the city. Financial impact. The total cost for all 3 agreements with GreenCoast Landscapes shall not exceed $11,640,000 during the maximum 5-year term if extended all years. Funding for fiscal year 2025 through 2026 and the subsequent fiscal years will be requested through the annual budget process. The not to exceed amount for year 1 provides the capacity for additional services to perform on-call landscape tasks as well as modifying the service frequencies. These services will only be authorized by staff through task orders for additional site visits, landscape maintenance, debris control, and weather events within the specified scope of services. The agreements allow for a price increase through a written request with documentation to support the request, not to exceed 3% over the previous year. Therefore, these annual not to exceed amounts are calculated at the maximum 3% per year if authorized by the city. Are there any questions?